Hi, I'm Curt Frye. In this movie, I would like to show you how to perform what is called Expressive Range Analysis, which is a fancy name for a combination between a two-dimensional scatter plot and a heat map. This is pretty easy to do with a conditional format, but if all you have is data and you need to do calculations to get there, then you will need to use the techniques that I show you in this movie. My sample file is named Expressive Range Analysis, and you can download it using the link that I provide in the video description below. I had not come across the term expressive range analysis until I read Mike Cook's book, Next Level, Making Games That Make Themselves. That's from Bloomsbury Press, and I'll have a link in the description as well. The idea is that when you create a video game, you will often be able to compare two numerical values that might be level difficulty versus length of time, and any other two values that can be analyzed and summarized using data, specifically numbers. So my goal is to show you how to create this kind of analysis using only raw data. So I will get rid of the image of the book cover and start with the analysis. You've probably seen a heat map before, which uses differing colors to indicate how frequently, for example, a table at a restaurant or an aisle in a grocery store is visited. So let's see how to get that data from values that I have in columns A and B. I've decided to break down my data in 5 value increments. So we go from 1 to 5, 6 to 10, 11 to 16, continuing on. And the largest value is 50. So I'll click in cell E3, type an equal sign, and start my analysis by creating a formula. It will be a count ifs formula. That's because we need to make 4 comparisons. We want every value for cell E3 to be between 1 and 5 in column A, and also 1 and 5 in column B. Over in F3, we would want 6 to 10 for column A, and 1 to 5 for column B. So let's see how that works. I'll start by looking at the range of A1 through A1200. That's my column A. So I've clicked cell A1, and I'll press Ctrl+Shift+Enter to select down. Then F4 to make it an absolute reference so it doesn't change. Then a comma. And the criteria will be based on the values in E2 and F2. So in double quotes, I'll have greater than or equal to, then double quotes again, and an ampersand because I'm creating a text value by concatenation, the value in E2. I don't want the reference to move from row 2, so I'll press F4. So now I have column E able to change, but the row number 2 can't. That's what the $ in front of the 2 means. Then a comma. The second criteria will be almost the same, except that now we want to be strictly less than the value in F2. So Control-V, then less than, close the double quotes and an ampersand, and it will be the value in F2. And again, I'll press F4 until the column letter is able to change and the row can't. And now we can do the same thing for column B. And the comparisons will be based on the labels here in column D. So for the criteria range, I'll click B1, Ctrl+Shift+Down Arrow, then F4 again to make it an absolute reference, then a comma, and we will have in double quotes greater than or equal to, close the double quotes, the value in D3. I want the row to change, but not the column, so the opposite of what we had above. So D3. I have the $ next to the D. That won't change. The 3 will, so we can change our row number. Then a comma, and I will go from B1 to B1200, and will be strictly less than the cell below. So that will be, and I'll just type it in, $D4. I need to have the ampersand to concatenate. There we go. I wondered why the cell address didn't light up, and that was why. So everything appears to be in order. I'll press Enter. So I have 17, which based on my data I know to be correct. And then I will grab the fill handle at the bottom right corner of E3 and drag over to the right. There are my counts, and I have a minimum and maximum here for the data so that I could check everything was working correctly. Then with E3 through N3 still selected, I'll grab the fill handle and drag down, and there I have the values. So here I have a minimum of 5 and a maximum of 18, and the values are there. So the numbers are certainly useful, but it's not easy to understand visually, and that's where conditional formatting comes in. And for this, we can use a color scale. I'll select E3 through N12, and then again on the Home tab, I'll click Conditional Formatting, and I'll click Color Scales, and then click More Rules. Because some people have trouble seeing color, I prefer to use a 2-color scale that just goes from black for the largest values to white for the smallest values. So we have a 2-color scale, and then I'll click the color control. So for the minimum, I'll click white, and then for the highest value, maximum, I'll click black. And click OK. And the values, or rather the fill color, has been shaded based on the rule that we created. The one thing that I don't like is that the numbers are still visible. A quick way to make them much less visible is to select the cells, and then again on the Home tab, just change the font size to 1. So press Enter, and the numbers are barely visible. They're still there if you look for them, but they don't distract the way that they did before. If you have data that you want to use to create a 2-dimensional heat map using data that you might find in a scatter plot, then expressive range analysis is a great technique to know. If you enjoyed this video, please like it and subscribe to my channel.